Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to the ninth edition of the Pathways Sports Parenting webinar. The Pathways webinar series is an initiative by Sportz Village. Sportz Village has been working with schools since the last 20 years to run structured physical education and sports programs during the physical education classes. This webinar series is an initiative by us to help parents, sports parents, get a lot of their queries on an ongoing basis, get answered by experts on different aspects of sports parenting, be it nutrition. Some of our earlier webinars have been around mental conditioning, nutrition, careers in sports. Today's topic is a niche one, US colleges sports recruitments. However, something which is increasingly becoming more relevant. And I think it's a great topic, a great opportunity for especially us Indians, where it's very, very important for us to balance academics and sports together. We all know that there can be only one Virat Kohli, but the others, what are the fallback options for them if you don't make the cut? That's the big risk that sports has, and therefore a bottleneck for us to grow our talent pool. And the US colleges scholarships provides an opportunity to create this alternate pathway for our children so that the career is taken care of, whether it is through sports excellence or otherwise. And to discuss the topic, I have two esteemed gentlemen here to discuss the same. Please allow me to introduce both of them to you. Firstly, we have Mr. Hitesh Joshi from India Khelo Football. India Khelo Football has been working on the ground quite extensively to again create a pathway for kids, talented Indian footballers. They have been so far giving opportunities to them to get scouted by some of the top ISL and I-League clubs and even European clubs by conducting trials across the country. And now they're also bringing a US Connect scholarship program to the country where kids can get scouted by coaches in US universities. Welcome, Hitesh. Look forward to talking to you today.
Same here, Nupur. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Rajendra Kamath. Rajendra brings actually dual perspectives to this discussion today. He, as a parent, has been able to successfully secure US scholarships for his two talented footballers. And along with that, he's also now started his own enterprise to help other parents do the same. So Rajendra, again, thank you so much for joining and a very good morning to you.
Morning, Nupur. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And good morning to all the parents who are joining us. I hope this is a great, insightful discussion for you. So let's get started. To start with, I would like to first maybe explain to our parents here today that what is the US Student Athlete Program? How is it structured? And I think, Rajendra, if you can throw some light on the program itself, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So this is a pretty broad topic, but let me just try to put a few pointers so that you get a sense. So like any other university or college in India, similar to that, US obviously has various athletic associations which govern all the colleges which want to play any kind of sport. So there are over 2,000 colleges spread across 4 to 5 athletic associations across US, and they play about 24 odd sports. Football being one of them, or soccer as it is called in US. Now each coach or each university has its own team, and the coaches are the ones who are the primary people who are, doing all the scouting, reaching out to parents, reaching out to players, selecting them and forming their own team. So each sport in US which plays in any of these 2,000 odd institutions is governed by certain, regulations and policies, just like All India Football Federation has certain policies for ISL clubs and I-League clubs. Similarly, these are athletic, governance. The other major factor is these are all amateur fields. So amateur sport. So you're not supposed to be earning money through this. But on the other hand, on the flip side, the universities provide a scholarship, a sports scholarship. So you can be eligible for that, but not get paid from any other source. I mean, it is a very broad topic, but as I mentioned, there are NCAA, it has Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, then there is NAIA, NJCAA. So there are a lot, 4 or 5 of these such organizations, and each of them have about 400 to 500 colleges in them playing, American sport.
Nice. So, Rajan, so basically the scholarship is for the education, but you get it on the basis of your achievements in the field of sport. Am I correct?
No, so again, given that a lot of folks don't know about this, right? Let me just take a step back. So
Yeah.
within NCAA, there is Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. Division 1 and Division 2 provides sports scholarship or athletic scholarship, as they call it. Plus, there is an academic scholarship.
Okay.
Whereas Division 3 only provides academic scholarship. It does not specifically provide, sports scholarship.
Okay.
NAIA, on the other hand, it can provide both. NJCAA can provide both, but again, in NJCAA, you have Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, the same, lines as NCAA. So there are those nuances.
Mhm.
Then each of these teams, there is a fund of whether it's an equivalency sport or it's a headcount sport. Equivalency sport is where the coach, gets a fixed budget and they distribute that among the team because the roster sizes are pretty. Whereas, headcount sport is something where if you get selected, there is a chance that you will get, good amount of scholarship or 100% scholarship.
Got it. So it can be part or 100% depending upon your
Yes.
profile. Got it. So this is American sport, Raja, right? What are opportunities for us Indians in this?
So let me throw some light on some data, right? And this is I'm looking at this more as an opportunity than a website. So
Mhm.
there are about if you just take football or soccer as we call it in US. So there are in high school there are about 8 lakh kids who play that, whereas only 50,000 kids make it to university rosters in US. That's
Mhm.
about 6%,
Oh, wow.
right?
Okay.
If I look at the overall sport athletic, student athlete count, it's about 7 lakh odd, give and take a few thousand.
Hmm.
There are about 25,000 internationals, including everyone in the
Hmm.
world, right?
Hmm.
Including
Hmm.
India. India is a very minuscule number at this point in time.
Hmm.
Okay, so that is where lies the opportunity for us, and we have a thriving, sporting, economy. We have not a whole lot, but there is definitely good amount of money.
Hmm.
A lot of parents are getting exposed to being abroad, coming back, or watching EPL, watching other international sport, and
Yeah.
they definitely want their kid to be part of that. If they see the spark, if they really want their kid to pursue it, there are
Hmm.
options. It
Yeah.
is just the information which is lacking, which Hitesh and I will hopefully be able to bridge the gap and help the parents get it.
Got it. Interesting. Hitesh, any additional insights you would like to offer on the program itself and opportunities for us?
Yeah. So I'll try to throw light on it from the football perspective. Uh, so like Rajendra pointed out, in Indian context, if you want to understand it in simple language, ये sports quota का admissions है. And like you said, although it's heavily dependent on your sporting achievements, but education is something which is not something which they do not look at. They also look at that there is some eligibility criteria which depends from university to university. Now, as Rajendra said, every coach has its own budget, so they want to spend it, and they spend it very wisely. They know who is capable of paying, who is not capable of paying, from where can they put their hand into apart from the athletic scholarship, they can put their hands into education scholarship as well and still get a good player from it. So they are pretty good business people in a way within their university who knows how to utilize their funds smartly. The good part now, so this we've entered into operations, but I'll also try to take a step back. Why we feel this program is good from a football point of view for Indian players is, first and foremost, there is अपना education system अच्छा है, and as compared to the currently African European players, which currently these coaches are scouting from across the globe. And there is a good perception among those coaches as well that Indian kids are better academically, comparatively better. So CGPA का ज़्यादा issue आता नहीं. The second thing which goes in our way is uh, what happens is we technically go more into STEM courses, which they like, and for which they can even push the player, like the coaches, if they want some player, they can push to the university. So that is a perception which is being built currently. But from the football perspective, what happens is in India, there is a glass ceiling you hit if you are into ISL and I League clubs. Uske upar, there is nothing which is there currently. If you go to Europe, then in professional football, the competition is exceptionally high. You have to be really, really exceptional in order to get any place to make to turn pro in Europe or in any European country. What happens in US, as Rajendra rightly said, it's an amateur football, or rather they call it as soccer, or we call it in our this thing is a semi professional. Now you get some scholarship to play soccer, and you also get to learn over there. You study over there for 4 years. In those 4 years, what happens is you do not kill your dream of becoming a pro. There are multiple chances which you get where you can become a pro. So there are semi-professional clubs जिसका season छोटा होता है 3 से 4 महीने का. You can get scouted over there, and then they have a very good structure of getting drafted directly into MLS teams, which is the highest league in US. So what happens is you do not leave your dream of becoming a professional player. You can continue that. You will also play soccer, and you get 4 years to impress the clubs. Now, for some reason, as you said, हर कोई विराट कोहली नहीं बनता है, हर कोई रोनाल्डो मेसी भी नहीं बनता है. So there is only this number of players who actually turn pro. At least you have a degree over there, a degree from a US university, so that एक बहुत strong safety net create हो जाता है. So hence the student athlete program, specifically from Indian players' perspective. I'm talking about soccer. Possibly we are good in chess and other places, but from soccer perspective, US looks like a very viable option. Jisme you don't lose too much because what happens is you see Indian players over here, they after 12 they don't study, they keep on trying. If they do not get pro by 23rd, 23, then they have to look for government jobs. But in this scenario, if the parents are able to support the players, then you keep on pursuing your dream. Nahi agar hota hai, to you have a degree, so you have a good safety net basically.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's the main topic, main theme, right? You have a safety net, which is both from your excellence side and your education side.
Very true.
So how easy or difficult is it, Rajendra, to get there? As in, your two boys have made it to the US universities. So in your experience, what is a good profile to get through from India to US on scholarship?
Yeah, so there are so let me split it into two portions. One part is the athletic ability, the skill level, right? And that skill level, obviously, you nurture, you grow, you get exposure to multiple tournaments, right? And you become better as you grow up. When it comes to US, obviously, there are a whole bunch of Europeans, South Americans also vying for the same spot as you are. And India, unfortunately, at this point in time, is not known in the football circle of the globe.
Yeah.
100 or just about that range. So that becomes a somewhat challenging thing. The second challenge we are fighting against is that just like Indian coaches, there is a network, and the coaches from school to academies to clubs know who some of the decently above average players are. They keep an eye out for them. Similar thing happens in US. We being in India, obviously they are not exposed to our level of play. Third is the physicality, where typically Indians are not known to be that physical, size or play as well, right? So we are more technical from that perspective. So some of these nuances, are the ones we have to overcome. Um, uh, Secondly, when the entire planning of getting into US colleges in US starts in the ninth grade in high school, right? That is when the students start approaching the coaches, and there's some amount of interaction with stars. The coaches keep an eye out. So that again, something which we lack because we start pretty late. So my whole endeavor is, when I started this journey for my boys, was to figure out this entire process. And, fortunately, we were able to talk to so many people to get an idea, read a lot, and put this entire thing together. So we started back in ninth, but unfortunately for us, the COVID was, ninth and 10th was the same time. So nothing happened at that time. But I would suggest the players need to start a bit early. The advantage of starting early is also because some of the players at, maybe in 10th or 11th realize that they are not made for this kind of game, right? And they want to change their focus. So the parents get some time to readjust, right? And they don't lose a lot of money also because there is a lot of investment which goes in apart from time, effort, and everything else, right? So there is the amount of damage is a bit reduced. But this amount of time gives a good amount of time and exposure for the kid to reach out to coaches. Coaches see how the kid is developing from the ninth grade to 10th grade. Some of the division coaches would want to see this in person in US. There is an opportunity for somebody to go and actually, give a few days trial or play as part of that, the entire team. And there are other nuances that the coach are looking at. The coach is looking at how do you communicate with others, how do you adopt being away from family and being in this international kind of a village where kids from all across the globe are there, right? With different abilities, different talking styles, food, so many other stuff. I mean, India in a way is a melting pot itself, right? We have, my boys were in Reliance and we had kids from Northeast and all over the country. So living with them, I think is similar. So I think a lot of these factors go into it, which help my boys and Reliance Young Champs being what they are. They provide the right kind of exposure to Spain, UK, the kind of teams which come and play here from abroad. I think that helped them grow. I also took them to an ID camp in the 11th grade, which is pretty late, but I got a very good response. So, in fact, some of the comments I got from the coaches was, Indian kids playing at this level is it is refreshing, right? So it was good to see all that. So that gives me a lot of advantage, and courage also to start something of this sort. Saying, if there is an opportunity, if there's a way for our kids, not just my kids, but anybody from India to go and be able to make a mark in US in soccer. That's fantastic. In fact, some of the girls who have already been there in the past few years, they are playing very well. They're doing very well. So that's a good thing.
Nice, nice. So, what I hear, Rajendra, then it is obviously a lot about the skill level, but a good profile is a combination of skill as well as your communication, other factors, academics, I'm assuming. So, all together, put together is what coaches look for.
Yes, I did not touch upon the academics part. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Academics plays an extremely crucial role, right? So they're known as student athletes. Student comes first, so obviously the percentage aggregate or GPA is what they're looking at. That helps from both aspects. One is the ability of the kid to see. My daughter is also pursuing her STEM in US, and without any sport at that level, she's finding it extremely challenging, right? Because they get involved in so many other clubs, other activities. The amount of time for submissions, projects, and the way the entire curriculum approaches US is a bit different than what we have in India. Good, but agree, it's a long debate, but
Yeah.
there is a certain way of doing it. They follow there. So the kids from India take time to transition that to be able to start thriving in that. They finally do so. But now if you add on the competitive sport at a college level, that season is, it's just killing, right? The amount of away games they play, they travel quite a bit, the training, the gym, you do put all that together, plus the assignments, they do get some leeway, but that is something the coach is looking at. And as Dish pointed out, India has an advantage in that because the kids typically come from a much better academic background.
Yeah.
So at least the first year or so, they find it a bit easier in US because already a lot of things have covered in the portion.
Yeah, we go through all of this in India much earlier, so
Yeah.
it plays to our advantage. So, some advantage somewhere. So okay, if this is Hitesh, anything you would like to add?
No, just see what Rajendra said. Like, we know that this is a good pathway. So, like, we know, everybody else in the world also knows that it's a good pathway. So hence you compete not only at national level, you compete at global level. And globally, these players pick up sport very early. They play competitive sports during their formative years, which we don't. Now, having said that, so like just to give you an example, we are hosting these showcase event in India. Before we are hosting that showcase event, almost all the coaches are traveling to UK for an exit trials. Exit trials are typically happens in UK for the players who were part of the Premier League academies, like Manchester United के academy का, Liverpool के academy का, and these players, academy players who are now club are relieving them. So those players are there with Premier League clubs playing in English Premier League leagues right from their childhood, and that is the highest level of players which come to the US student athlete program whom we are competing with. So although it's a good pathway, but it's not as easy to get into. There are multiple factors. That is what. But what happened is when we keep bringing these Premier League academy scouts to India, and Nupur, you have seen that event. So these coaches basically suggested that Indian players, looking at them technically, tactically, like yeah, Rajendra said, physically we are what we are basically. So the nutrition has to start from very early age, but they suggested that it's a good pathway. So the probability of getting scouted in University for an Indian player is higher than getting selected in any other place. On an average is what they suggested, and that's why we go ahead. So yeah, I want to. So although we are, we said that बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा. Of course अच्छा है, but it's the thing is कि अच्छा है तो सबको दिख रहा है वो अच्छा है. So hence you need to. There are many people who are vying out for that limited spots.
But I guess right now we are struggling with information itself.
Yeah. That is
so
true.
It's great that you are working in this space to get more information so that at least who has the potential can get through, and lack of information is not the hindrance.
And the information is there on both the end. We don't know about their pathway program. And when we started speaking with these US university coaches, they didn't know that India में football खेला भी जाता है. So many of those coaches said कि oh, अच्छा, you are a cricket crazy country. How many players would play football? So that is the questions which come from their end. And luckily, because we are bringing them over for the first time in India for showcase event, we had to literally show them season 2 finals के videos to make them understand कि ये level का football खेला जाता है, मतलब and a good player plays like that, and that's तभी. So there is an information gap on both the end. They didn't knew कि Indian players, मतलब there are good players in India, and of course we didn't knew that such a good pathway exists in US. So at both ends, so via Rajendra, via myself, and I'm sure there'll be pretty more other people as well who would be exploring that option at pan India level. But we are doing our job. But slowly, as we keep them exposing to good Indian players, they would also, I'm sure, they are more interested in getting Indian players rather than African players and European players, just because of our good academic efforts.
Got it. So before I move to my next question, just for the parents, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it out in the chat board, and I'll take it up with the panelists at any time. And meanwhile, I'll go on. So I realized while we were talking, Hitesh, Rajendra, we were focused primarily on soccer, I believe, because both of your backgrounds. But beyond soccer, are there good opportunities in other sports as well?
Oh, absolutely. Especially for Indians, so one big thing which I noticed was in US, because the American football, right? So what we call rugby in a way, right? It is huge. So the coaches get paid in millions. So that roster is like extremely, heavy, 100 kids, 120 kids. So there is a lot of push for, other sports as well to try and kind of bring up the overall level. Plus, there is a lot of interest because American football is more for the boys. So plus there is a lot of interest for the girls, and there is a lot of opportunities for the girls to take up. So head count sports like tennis, golf, they're huge, especially for Indians. I'm talking primarily for Indians, because that is one space where we have at global level shown that we can do in tennis and golf, right? In both. So there could be others as well. In fact, I am talking to a couple of kids from India right now who are good in track and field national level, right? And their timings might not be the best in terms of compared to US, but they are in the top 10. It
Okay.
itself is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are some of the sports I've definitely, pushed. There are kids who are good in tennis who have played, and for coaches also in US, given that these are individual sports, they look at what kind of tournaments you have played. There are global rankings, so
Hmm.
they get a good reference point vis-a-vis a contact sport like football, because obvious other challenges. There's
Yeah.
a big challenge for them to visualize at what level would that kid be. Right? So
Okay.
individual sport definitely.
Got
Nupur,
it.
you'll be happy to hear that few of
Hmm.
the coaches also told us that cricket start ho raha hai at university. So
Hmm.
once that takes good shape, then there'll be a huge exodus for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
So
I
of
think
course.
there'll be all lack of information barriers will go down the drain and we will know.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think cricket is already becoming, cricket is a very popular sport already in US, but obviously, it is not as part of a college sport yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now it is, IPL similar starting this season, and a lot of our, Indian players already going there. There is
Hmm.
one kid I know from our own layout who moved to US with his parents, played in San Jose.
Mhm.
This year he got drafted in San Francisco Unicorns. And he
Okay.
was talking about how he was talking to some of the ex-Australian players, cricket players, and it is just surreal for even for them to be able to talk and be in the same dressing room as those players. So
Yeah.
yeah, it will pick up.
Nice. So I have a question here from one of the parents. How would it work for swimming? As I am a national level swimmer and I'm also a registered athlete with USA Swimming Organization. I think it's going more in the process of how to go about it. So if you guys can throw some light on how to apply, what is the selection process?
Yeah. So by and large, the application process pretty much is similar in across all sports. So irrespective of which grade you start in, if you need to have videos typically, because the coaches don't know you. You have to reach out to the coaches. You start with the multiple things, right? One is which is the major you're interested in. You'll have to come up with a list of colleges where you want to apply, right? Because you need to know whom to apply, whom to go after, which are the colleges, which are the coaches. You on your side, you're creating your own video of and giving various timings. What are the various tournaments you have participated in? So that gives a good sense to the coaches in terms of where you are, right? And then they will be looking at height, weight. There is certain registration which need to happen. So they need to have a reference point vis-a-vis what they currently have on their roster.
yeah,
Once you have this part of your end ready, once you have shortlisted a bunch of colleges, right, and that is when you start applying to coaches. And the coaches obviously are not the best in terms of responding at the earliest, but
yeah,
you pretty much need to follow up. So there is some amount of that, discipline required to be able to keep reaching out. If you're not hearing from them, you expand your college list, right? Standard
Hmm.
stuff which you typically would do.
Hmm.
And definitely there will be some response. There will be some might say, no, can you send me some more videos? I would
mm,
like to see this angle or whatever. So
Hmm.
once that communication starts, I think that is one of the key things. Then the other option obviously is, and some of the coaches would want to see that if there is a way for you to attend a camp in the US, right? Because then they have an extremely good idea of where you are, and the coaches are pretty upfront, right? They
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
if they don't see some spark, some opportunity, they will definitely be in touch, and they
Okay.
will keep they will be on top of that. You don't need to
Yeah.
follow up after that.
Got it.
But if you're not there, or they have somebody similar or better on their roster, they will tell you maybe not this year. Let us look at it next year. Then
Hmm.
there are even internal transfer after the first year, second year. Kids do that.
Hmm.
So there are multiple options. The process is pretty standard, straightforward.
Hmm.
It is just the nuances, which will
Hmm.
take a long time for me to talk here.
Hmm.
But if the gentleman wants to talk, definitely my number is out there. Get in touch. Let's talk about it.
Got it. So it's sounding, Rajan, more like a application to do PhDs in US than the meritorious, as in how admissions to colleges in India is. It's more like applying for the
Absolutely.
PhDs, right?
I
You
mean,
figure,
even if you look at
yeah.
IIT process, the way you go about meticulously doing your stuff on the
Hmm.
academic side, giving, exposure to multiple kind of tests, etc. It's pretty much similar. So there
Yeah.
is no rocket science here. In US, the only thing is sports is one thing, academics is the other. So you need to have both ready
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
data, in terms of performance, in terms of showing that you are there, so that the coaches can help you get not only the sports scholarship or athletic scholarship, plus also then work with the academics office, the admissions office
Okay.
to get you some sort of academic scholarship. I think that
Yeah.
ultimately it is, whatever said and done, US is expensive, right? There is a certain
Correct.
amount of budget you need to have. Even if you get 100% scholarship, just the travel, just the other
Yeah.
things you want to go there, there is some amount of, when you go
Yeah.
for a US student visa, there are certain things which the counselor checks whether we like it or not. It would be the best, but so some of those
Got it.
nuances we need to take care of, and those can be planned. It is all doable. Unfortunately, when parents start in 11th, they don't have time to react. So the kid is good, opportunity is there, but the visa got rejected.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, that is another step which we can't overlook. So if
Control.
you're
Yeah.
starting a bit early, you have some more time to adjust and do whatever it needs to. And there is no guarantee about anything, but at least you have to plan.
Got it.
Very
There's a follow-up question on that. Would it make a difference to be a US citizen in your application process?
So US, the only difference for a US citizen is you don't need to fight for the visa. Everything
Okay.
else, there is absolutely zero. Because
I
the
see.
skill level has to be there. See, ultimately, coaches get paid, they have a base salary, plus there is incentive based on how your team performs. So it is in their best interest to have the best on their team. Their team goes to nationals, win certain championship, their bonuses increase, right? The name of the college, even when they move to other college, their biodata or CV becomes extremely good, right? So it is in their interest. And kids from India, because they are already above average in academics, that definitely gives them an edge. So we just need to capitalize on what we are good at. We need to showcase where, as Hitesh said, we are not known for. So we have to bridge the gap somewhere.
Got it. There is one more question from Dev Rajshri. From which standard should we try? I think Rajan, you already mentioned that we should start early. My child is taking training in cricket and he's in the 4th standard. What are the expenses? So both from a timing and expenses point of view.
So Hitesh, sorry, I don't want to go with Hitesh, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll just see.
Whatever you can. I mean, I can always pitch it.
No, fine. So, of course, thinking at 4th standard level is pretty good. The only problem that we see later on, as Rajendra said, people start thinking about when they are in 11th and or when they're in 12th. So they don't even have their own match videos in place. That becomes a big problem. And these American coaches, they like data a lot. उसमें तुम mention कर दो your speed, your acceleration, as much data as you can put. They are numbers people. So, wo at least if you are starting at early age, then start building that thing. If you can see the growth, the tournaments that your kid is playing in, where has he won, where does he stand at national level, at zonal level, so on and so forth. As much data as you can generate and as much videos you can shoot of your kid playing. Later on, then you can show it in a growth. Because see, what happens is these coaches receive thousands of emails, and if it does not catches their eye, then they won't even see later on, they won't even follow up. So that, like when we started sending highlight video, they said initial 20 seconds where you have to showcase the best of his moves, otherwise he will simply close it and never look at your mail again. So that is one thing. In terms of expenses, you have to be ready to pay between 100% to 80% or 90%. So 100% milta hai, to you call it as a full ride, right? Rajendra, they call it as full ride. So that is very difficult to get. And at least I know for football, it is super difficult to get. You have to have either played at some represented your country or have played at some Premier League club, etc. So that is one thing. So in terms of expenses, you need to be prepared. And as you start moving in from NIA to NCAA, the fees also varies. So I think with respect to the amount, you have to be prepared कि मेरे को 10% ही scholarship मिलेगा या फिर मुझे 100% तक मिल सकता है. But so you of course hope for the best, but you need to be prepared even if I get only 10%, that I need to be ready with 25 to 35 lakhs of Indian currency to be spent per year on my child. Of course, the specifics can be given by Rajendra. He's now spending for two of his boys.
Correct. Yeah. So so there are those nuances, right? In terms of when you start with the list of colleges, you look at what are the expenses, what kind of level are they paying. The topmost in NCA, AA, D1, D2, extremely challenging to get in, right? So they're looking at a very different skill set. If you get there, then you're also looking at, is there a way for my kid to get in? I could be on the roster, but I could just be sitting. Yes, for example, has a roster of 10, but only 5 play a tournament. So if you're not up to that next five, if you're still fighting at the bottom two, you might be on the team, but you will never get playing time. And that is extremely frustrating for kids to just go train for days together, but no matches, tournaments. So you need to look at some of these aspects before we sign up for a certain college. Then you obviously look at the overall tuition fees, how much is it for staying, eating, you add some amount because you'll be traveling back to India once a year at least, or once in 2 years. So there are those expenses. After second year, if your kid is going to buy a car, I mean, not very different from India. It is 1:80. 1 USD is equal to 80 INR, makes a difference. So scholarship is definitely something which you should fight for, athletic plus academic. So very important for us to make sure that our grades are up there, make it easier for the coach to go and fight for you for some of academic scholarship as well. I think that reduces the burden significantly.
Got it. Thank you. So if there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to type it again. I'll take the next one till then. What is the eligibility in terms of age and other criteria?
So
So
I think, yeah, I'll
no,
talk.
no,
So so there are different divisions, right? So either there is NCAA, NAIA, NGCAA. In NGCAA, it's basically junior colleges participate. So it's right after grade 10, you can get into those colleges who play in NGCAA and appear for that. And then for NCAA, NAIA, it's a graduation program. But however, who can do the graduation is something which is pretty open. Like there have been case studies of a person, 35-year-old guy playing in NCAA and doing well. And when we are speaking with university coaches, they are asking for postgraduate students. They also need some mature players who can do some postgraduate courses in their university, but be part of their university team. So this is something which we have learned with our interactions with the coaches. So eligibility is basically age wise, and second, what are you eligible to study for? You need to complete your grade 10 to be able to go for junior college. You need to complete your grade 12 in order to be eligible to go for graduation program. You need to, so that kind of eligibility is also.
correct.
Anything else to add, Raj? Yeah.
Just a couple of 1 2 points. NCAA also has a certain number of credits you need to have secured for you to be eligible to get into any of these colleges. So depending on, see, today in IB schools, you can drop math, right?
Okay.
And 11th, 12th, many kids drop math. But if they have to play, at this level, then their overall credits need to add up to 16 or 18, whatever the requirement is. So it is very important to look at some of these aspects when you are, planning if you want to go to US to play plus study. Only study, it's okay because you're anyway going for the major you're targeting. But if you want to play as well at the college level, then some of these aspects are become extremely important. Yeah, and then the playing time which I mentioned, right? A lot of kids from India, if they get into the unfortunately, our mindset has to kind of horizon has to expand. We can't be only looking at or thinking only IVs or the top colleges in academic and thinking, my kid will also do well there. Even in academics or even in sport, I see a lot of kids not being able to cope up because they are competing with the best in the world, but they were best in India at that point in time. So mental strength is one thing, one aspect which is overlooked.
Yeah.
And we tend to push the kid ahead, and the kid, in all the N2 goes there and takes a lot of time. And some kids have to drop out. Some kids change
Hmm.
courses just because they're not in. So, as parents, as guides, and counselors, we have to keep some of these things in mind.
Hmm.
So the right
Interesting.
fit is important. Right?
It's like it's like getting into an IIT as your school topper and realizing everybody there is a school topper.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. When you
Very
have this,
Yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. So I'll just following up on Rajendra what you have said, because we are now facing this more often as our players have started going abroad. So like just recently there were two players technically very advanced, and they were rejected by a UK based academy because they said that they are not resilient. The psychosocial attributes of the players are not on par, and they
Mhm.
exactly said the same thing, that we don't feel that they will be able to cope up beyond 1 month in our setup. So although technical, tactical, physical, everything was super exceptional, like the player was, both of those players were super good, but they harped more on psychosocial because many of times they feel that technical, tactical is something which can be learned, those skills can be acquired with right
Mhm.
training. But
Mhm.
psychosocial attributes is something which, it's your personality, and it starts like, it's a Japanese word of tabula rasa. It starts right from your childhood, so which we cannot make them acquire later on. And also there was another kid who went on scholarship to Steven Gerrard, came back, one of the clubs scouted him in Bangalore. He couldn't cope up with the Bangalore structure as well, as in wahan pe he went everything and impressed everybody and came back. So those things are, yeah, of course. So if the kid has not moved out of the house since childhood, kahin bahar khud se raha nahi hai, so you have to prepare them. And when the players they come to us saying ke, or the parents come to us saying ke 1 saal ke liye bahar bhejna hai, 2 saal ke liye we have to send them abroad. Why don't you acquire trials for us? We tell them कि आप 1 महीना पहले भेज दो. If he does well and if he enjoys that 1 month, then only you think of sending them for a year.
Makes
Otherwise, it will
sense.
be a big waste of time. Yeah.
Makes sense. So, Hitesh Raja, there's clearly so much hand-holding information that's required. I don't think parents have all this information on these nuances, everything. Can you throw some light on how are you two helping parents today, and how can they reach out to you for more help?
Yeah, I'll start first, Rajendra. Yeah.
Please.
In the value chain, your role will also come later on, as we. After our work is done, your work starts. So, Nupur, what we understood was in India, specifically for aspiring football players, there was no platform. Okay, if there is a player playing in Ranchi, how would he showcase to the world that I am a good player? And because there is no grassroots football which happens in Jharkhand, there is no grassroots football which happens at state level, at Ranchi, at district level, or at state level. So our idea of forming India Kilo Football as a non-profit organization was simply that we have to create a pan-India platform. जहाँ पे if there is any player who wants to showcase his skill, he can come, and if he's good enough, we'll take him up, and वहाँ जाके we'll showcase him to the various opportunities which are there. So this is something which we have been doing for 3 years, and in initial 2 years, as you said in the introduction, we focused more on ISL and I-League clubs, which pathway is set for us. Every season we hold national finals. But from this year, we started, what we realized is, unless and until few players are sent abroad and they learn the methods over there and they come back, till that point of time, the delta increase in the quality of Indian football won't happen, because अभी वो लोग यहीं का यहीं पे खेलें. So like, just for example, if Rajendra's kids, they play there in US for 4 years and they come back over here to play at some level within India, then there'll be some delta increase in his team, the coaches, the approach, etc. So many things improve because they have that exposure. So we started sending the players, or rather, tied up with various academies across the globe, and now just from today, so the good news is 3 of the players have got 100% scholarship, one in Portugal, one in Poland, and one in Spain.
Nice.
So that was one thing. And while we were exploring the pathway towards international academies, many of these coaches, they suggested that you need to look at US universities, because looking at the Indian players and their academies, we feel that is a more viable option. So now, from our end, what we can help to the parents who are looking to send their kids abroad to US University to explore the student athlete program. We are conducting one mega showcase event in February in Ahmedabad for 3 days, 4th, 5th, and 6th Feb. For 2003 to 2008 players, 8 born players who play football. So we have got more than 20 odd universities who have signed up with us who will be watching these kids live. So it's called as a showcase event. Such kind of events are pretty common across the globe, but in India, it never happened because there was lack of information. So we thought we'll start. This is our first year for that showcase event for US universities. So US 4th, 5th, and 6th Feb, we are conducting that showcase event. More than 20 university coaches will be seeing the players. Will be broadcasting that complete event live in US. So if anybody's interested, you can come. So we are simply providing a platform where if you're good enough, those coaches will be seeing you live directly. And if that matchmaking happens, which normally happens in for our other pathways, then you can go to the consultants like Rajendra and so on and so forth to handhold you and take your case ahead with those coaches, because those guys have already scouted you. So that that's the only support in terms of providing a platform, at least, so that you can test yourself कि मैं select हो सकता हूँ कि नहीं हो सकता. If you get selected, then you know that okay, that now I can spend and I can put my energy over.
Yeah, thanks, Hitesh. I'll leave the details in the chat, so if anyone's interested, they can know more. Rajan, can you also throw some light on how you are helping parents in this process?
So mine obviously is much more customized because I am working one-on-one with the family, right from understanding what kind of interest the kid has. So academic, sport, and other aspects of the family, right? Those are extremely critical for them to come to a consensus on what is their target college, what is it that they want to major in. Because the sport is anyway given. The sport the kid has done enough and more, got the exposure, has got the relevant, data, has got the relevant, the number of medals or whatever participation in India, abroad, whatever it might be. So there is a certain amount of skill set which is already there, which is ready. Now I need to help the kid to, increase that or try to give that exposure to the kid to maybe international, maybe at national level, maybe at club level, depending on what is required to additionally bridge that gap, which the US coaches might get interested in. That is one part. Academic, anyway, given that the kid is already doing a certain amount of schooling, whichever board, CBSE, ICSE, IB, my job is to make sure that from an NCA perspective, NCAA perspective, or US College Association perspective, what are the basics which are required in terms of credits? Those subjects are being taken across 9, 10, 11, 12. So I always emphasize that we need to start a bit early, plan early, so that the entire ride, and these are things which will happen, right? If you look at it, a lot of colleges nowadays they say SAT is test optional, but there are a few colleges which still require it. So a lot of parents who I have spoken to, they say, the colleges are not asking for it. Doesn't matter. I say, please take it. Because, for the US college, you look at it, right? Better application, you are against so many.
Yeah.
The grading GPA might be, very similar to what other kids have. Essays, letter of recommendations, a lot of those things are similar to others have. All glowing tributes to the kid is fantastic and all that. So SAT is one way for them to really see where the kid stands in terms of mathematics, English, reading, writing, etc., right? Analytical skills. So they need some kind of differentiation. I see parents or just to create that holistic application. A lot of other activities in terms of whether it is social service, whether it is doing the leadership skills, how do you portray some of these things? So I think a lot of those things are important which go into the application which is required. So coach has to be able to take that application that I like this kid as a player and be able to go and talk to the admissions office that I absolutely need him or her on my roster. Why would the admissions office give it just because somebody is good? They will say, there are 10 more other kids who are good as well. Why don't you take them?
Yeah.
Somebody's academics are fantastic. Somebody has done this kind of work. And they are also looking at their college. So the kid coming in is an ambassador from an international place for their college also. So
Yeah.
all these factors are extremely important. So what I do is much more customized in terms of working with the families through this journey,
Mhm.
understanding where the information I did not have, I could have done probably a bit better, is
Yeah.
something I have also realized over a period of time, right? So I think, a lot of those learnings is what I'm trying to put back into the entire thing. So if somebody is interested, absolutely, looking forward to talking.
Fantastic. Yeah, if parents, if anybody, if you're interested, I think phone number details is there in the background. You can connect directly with Raja. One last question from my side, Hitesh, is the schools is one organization or one stakeholder who, every school, every child goes to a school. Is there a way schools can help children get this information faster, better? Otherwise, it's, left to the parent, his motivation level.
Right.
His,
So definitely, we have just started working with various schools. So what has happened is many of these schools, specifically the international board, once they have their university counselors, academic counselors. So the first thing actually, the school has to make their own staff aware that such a pathway exists, and to identify players within their school to whom they should guide them towards this direction. That is the first way. So first thing is acquire the knowledge that such pathway exists and the several other nuances to it. The second thing is then the identification starts, that whether this player or this student rather can be suggested this pathway, and then counsel the parents as well, that see, this pathway exists, why don't you explore that for your kid, because we feel ke wahan pe ye fit hoga. And the third thing comes is wherein they start looking out for opportunities at school level. See, many of these academic counselors, they, as it is, they keep reaching out to many university coaches, many universities, or rather write their essays, etc. They try to acquire academic scholarships for them. If they're already doing that, why not also explore sports scholarships and have someone on board who can guide them or who can counsel them throughout? Like, there are few schools who got so excited by the idea of our showcase program that they did the seminar within their school themselves. They took the registrations themselves, and they are sending their sports teachers along with the students to the event. So because they know that if few of the kids get placed over there, it is actually a beneficial thing for the school as well. Otherwise, if you see these international schools, much of their achievements or impact is how many kids got placed in US universities or international universities. That is their impact area or the care. So rather, if you have an easier way where you can groom the kid right from the early age, why not explore that and showcase a bigger care rate to the parents?
Yeah.
So if any school wants to basically bring their kids, so there are many schools who are okay. There was one school where they actually identified players and they themselves said, "Okay, we'll pay for them to bring them over there." If at all the parents do not agree. So I think, yeah, schools are the best medium. They know the parents, they know the kids, they know कि उसका academics कैसा है, अच्छा है, नहीं है. CGPA comes later on, but whether the kid will be able to cope up over there or not, and if they are able to do that, nothing like it. And in the short term, I think if they want to tie up with us, or rather bring their kids to the showcase program for the players whom they feel might benefit out of it, we are open for that.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. I think there's one final question on the chat. And I think it goes back to the basics on how can we groom our children to be involved in sports at an early stage. I think it all starts with getting kids to play sports. So, any insights?
You would be the best. You would be the best.
Yeah, actually, you should lead us in this. Sportz Village should lead us. So none of us have an experience of 20 years in making kids play. So I think, Nupur, that question is for you.
Well, yes. I think I would answer that more as a parent. Now I'm a parent as well of a small young baby, in fact, only right now. But it's important to just get them to play. Important is to get them to have fun with sport. And I think this excellence, career, pathway, these are all just outcomes of being involved in sports. And I think as a parent, I would like to get my child to be involved for fun, for the sake of competition. It teaches you so much. I've been a player myself. I've played cricket for Chandigarh. The values of punctuality, playing as a team, it just teaches you so much. So get them involved in sport, just get them to maybe sign up for multiple classes here and there, academies. And it need not be the best academy in town. I see parents, vying for traveling, so many kilometers just to enroll in the best academy out there. I mean, it just could be just an academy in your society. Important that the child is playing in a comfort zone with a coach who's more engaging than, the best coach out there, playing with friends who they enjoy playing with. So it starts from there. And if once they get a hang of it, they would themselves ask you to for more, for better. So I think just get them to enjoy the sport. And in fact, it starts with you, as a parent. Play with them. My dad, my brother, every evening we used to, be playing something, whether badminton out in the streets, in the air, shuttle flowing everywhere, or, a game of carom, chess. But there was that 1 hour that I spent with my family playing sports, and that's where the love kicked in. So I think just try to build in that love for the sport, and things will happen automatically from there. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we are at the end of our session. It was a very, very insightful session. There's so many nuances. I've myself learned so much today. Thank you so much, and thank you, Hitesh. Thanks also to the parents for joining in on a Saturday morning. And like I said, all the details are here. If you need to reach out to anyone, please feel free, and be happy to support. Thanks again, and have a very good day.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Rajendra.
Bye.